So everyone, welcome to this introductory video that's going to show you how to get Hero Virtual Tabletop up and running. What I've done is I've placed the Hero Virtual Tabletop folder. I've extracted it and placed it inside of my City of Heroes directory. And so really that's what the first thing you need to do is just take that zip file that I've provided you guys, extract it, knock it inside your City of Heroes folder. And so let's go inside. It's probably important to give a bit of a preface. Hero Virtual Tabletop is really four components. It's obviously the Titan icon version of City of Heroes. It's also extended version of a Hero Systems Combat Simulator. Basically, it's a Java application that allows you to run the rules for the Champions role-playing game. And then finally, there's this Hero Virtual Tabletop Orchestrator, which takes events and data from the simulator and plugs it into the Titan Icons version of City Heroes. And lastly, it's this database that allows you to associate characters with animations, place them into crowds, have them play sound effects, do all that kind of good stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the prerequisites folder, and I'm going to install Java. Hero Combat Simulator doesn't work without Java installed, so I've included the 1.8 version, and we're just going to install that guy. It may work with other versions. I have not tested it, but just to play it safe, I do recommend just installing the 1.8 version of Java. So I'm just going to wait for that to start to load up. It's going to take a few seconds. Okay, so let's just start installing that. Clicking next a few times. The default options are completely appropriate. And we're done. So I'll just close that off. So now what I'm going to do is go back into Hero Virtual Tabletop, and I'm going to open up Hero Combat Simulator. It should just start off nicely. There we go. Um, what I'm going to do now is I've included some resources just to make sure that you've tested that this is installed properly. So I'm going to ask you guys to click on Open Roster, and then go back into your Hero Virtual Tabletop install. And so that was within City Heroes, Hero Virtual Tabletop. Now you'll see that here I have a folder called Sample Campaigns. That's just got some example assets. I've got a Heroes roster. I'm going to open that up. And that's going to give me a roster with two heroes, one called Ogun, and then one called Spider, who's my shameless rip-off to Spider-Man. I'm going to remove this roster because I don't really care about it. Hang on, how do I do that? There we go, close roster. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a battle. So let's just start this battle right here. Spider goes first. And then what I'm going to do is, as an example here, I'm going to click on Spider Strike, and going to go and have him hit Ogun. And Ogun didn't have a chance to turn his force field on, so Ogun's hurting real bad here. 35 stun, he's stunned unconscious. He's knocked down and he was knocked back 9 inches. For people who don't know what Champions is or is not familiar with the terminology, an inch is really 2 meters, so he went a whopping 18 meters back. He's not going to be conscious anytime soon. And you can kind of see Ogun down here. Oh, he's not too bad, -1 stun. So great. If you know, I mean, how is that special? So what this does in the background, I'm going to go back into Hero Virtual Tabletop. You can go into a folder called Event Info. And what you do is you want to look at this ability.info. You can see that this just got generated just now. I'm going to edit that, take a look at it. And you'll see that so by doing that, I actually created this text file. This is the information that's going to get passed over into City of Heroes. The name of the ability, Spider Strike, who did it, Spider. It's a single attack as opposed to an area effect attack. The target was Ogun, you hit him, knocked him out, and knocked him back 9. So what I'm going to do now is, because I don't want the system to launch all of this stuff when I start it, I'm going to just delete that. You can see here that I've got City of Heroes working. So you can see here that I've got City of Heroes working. In order to, or sorry, I've got it running. In order to get it working with Hero Virtual Tabletop, you need to actually load custom keybinds.txt. Again, this comes with the install. So what I'm going to do now is launch that. And if you hit the letter C, that's going to give you this little sphere as a character. So instead of being a person running around, you're actually a character. Some of the other things it does is it binds F to fly. So if you hit F, you can now fly in the air, kind of look around. Hit F again and you'll drop. I've also bound the movement keys to the arrows, and then kind of getting around to your WSAD combination. Go back into Hero Virtual Tabletop, and you'll see there's a couple of items here. Place in City of Heroes folder. Uh, right now, that's a set of costumes. So really, just some, the match the two characters that were in the Hero Combat Simulator. And there's also some items in the data folder here. Most importantly, it's these three files. These actually are the custom keybind files that you require in order to work with City of Heroes. And then there's a couple of menu files in there as well. So I'm just going to grab these. And I'm going to place them here. Okay, great. So now we should be ready to go. So I'm going to start up the actual Hero Virtual Tabletop Orchestrator. And that's this guy right here. Make sure you run it as an administrator or else it won't work with the Titan's icon City of Heroes. So now that's starting, and you'll see this little black screen it shows. This kind of shows you a set of controls. It can also help you debug in terms of understanding what characters loaded. Right now, no characters loaded, what's in memory, if any events have fired, and this is a little bit of a debugging area. So I'm going to leave this onto controls, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and bring this guy into our system. So let's see that. So this is a set of controls that work with Hero Virtual Tabletop. First one being spawning the character. So great, now we've got Ogun here. What I'm going to do is have him get into a fight with Spider. So I'm going to load him up as well. So let's load up Spider. There we go, spawn character. So now they're both here, both kind of ready to duke it out. And let's start the combat. So move this window to the side so we can see it. So I'm going to have Spider start by going on the defensive, and I'll just have him do a dodge. So we can just watch that happen. There we go. We see him doing his thing. So what's neat is that every time you launch a power from here, if there's an associated animation, it'll run. So now it's Ogun's turn. Ogun's going to go on the offensive here. First thing it's going to do is activate a force field. You can see him hitting a few buttons. Force field now gets activated. I've got the sound off so you can hear him on. You'll see that the associated sound effects actually activate with the ability itself, which is really kind of interesting. So now what we're going to do here is I'm going to have Spider. I'm going to have Ogun go on the offense. So let's move that back, and I'm going to turn the sound back on so you can see it kind of work. So let's go back here, and we'll have Ogun do a lowest strike, which is with his hammer. So you have to right click and hit activity, a bit of a bug. And here, now I'm going to just turn my volume on. And you'll see that was a kind of a flailing miss. If I kind of come back to here, you'll see it said, Ogun missed Spider. Ogun needed to roll a 0. So really didn't have a good chance to hit here, thanks to Spider's dodge. Okay, so now it's kind of Spider's turn. We'll have Spider do a Spider strike. So again, it's the same kind of idea. I'm going to change my perspective here. What happens? and so a little slower on a slower system. It might work faster on yours, but what's pretty neat there is you saw Spider hit Ogun. Ogun actually kind of flailed a bit, got hit, knocked back, and then fell down. And he actually knocked back the number of inches based on what was specified within the system. So that's pretty cool. That also works with area effect attacks as well. So at its basics, that's how you'll know Hero Combat Simulator is working, is if you can get kind of this going. You might wonder how all those animations worked and all that happened. I'm going to show you this right now. Well, first of all, let me just turn off the orchestrator. I'll eventually write some code so that it only animates when the City Hero screen is active, but for now, you kind of got to get it out of the way. So let's look into this folder right here called Animations. If you look in here, these are default files that exist just to make the character animations like dodging and getting hit by a blunt instrument. So those need to be in the system or need to be in this folder or else system won't work. These two are optional. You kind of have one file for every character. So, what you'll see here is that there's an Ogun costume file, there's a Spider costume file, there's also an Ogun animations and Spider animations file. So let me just open this guy up. You can kind of see how some of this worked. For every costume slash character you want to animate, just build a corresponding animation file. There's also an application interface that I'm going to show you how to do that makes this a little bit easier. So let's just open up Hero Combat Simulator. So you kind of see here a set of animations. Let's knock down here. So here's Force Field. So what this is saying is that whenever I activate Force Field, I'm going to send an event to City of Heroes that says run this. It's an and animation, meaning do everything below it. Whenever you press the number 5 on your keyboard, you could also launch it. So that's what this tells it as well. And here are the moves. So it does this aid underscore power analyze, which is an animation. It then plays this beeping sort of 3 times with a pause of 100. And then finally, what it does is it launches this special effect called Force Field, which is how you got that special effect around them. And then I have a little bit of a configuration here around the colors. There's 4 colors that seem to be in this system, but for some reason, I only can get color 1 to actually do anything. And then this persistence means if you want to run another power, you don't want that force field to go away. And that's necessary if you wanted to, say, launch a force field and then later on do an energy blast. If you don't put this persistent to be true, then the force field will disappear when you run the energy blast. And then finally, here's a wave file. Of course, you might wonder, like, how do I know what animations or wave files I can do? There are lots of forum threads on the Titan Icon forums that give you those lists. I've also created an application that'll make this configuration a lot easier. Similarly, let's go and find his strike that he did. Remember, he did this lowest strike. So let's go look for that. There we go, right here. Fires on a 1. It's also an and. Go and run this special effect with this color. Then do an or. And then you have a choice of doing any of these ones. So that's why you'll see, I'm going to do this in a second, when I actually have them do this lowest strike, it could be different types of blows in different times. Regardless of what type of animation you do, make sure to run this wave file. So let's go and look at that for real. I'm going to go and come back here. I'm going to go and launch this guy. Let's run that as an administrator. Say yes. So then we should see this open up again. So now I'm going to come back here. Let's bring this guy back. Let's actually respawn him because, we don't want him flat on his back. Okay. So let's bring him over here. Okay, so now we're going to just hit the number 1 key. Right now sound is off, so you won't hear this. But you see he did his little shot. I'm going to turn the sound on. Just to prove that sounds actually do work. I'm going to hit the number 2 key. That's him firing a blast. Now, the interesting thing with the software that I've got right now, powers seem to all fire in one direction only, towards zero on the map. I've got to go and figure out how to change that. Hopefully, the folks over at Titan Icon have more knowledge of how this application works, and they can help me fix that. But still, it's still pretty cool. Here you can see him launching an area effect attack. Um, Here's him doing a bigger sort of haymaker. And I'm hitting the 4 key right now. And you see he's doing different shots every time, which is kind of neat because of the randomness. So it's not always the same thing. Here's him turning on his force field again. What's cool is this is cumulative. So if I turn the force field on again, you can see it starts to get crazier and crazier. So if you have power characters with incremental powers, that's a neat way of doing it. Here's him kind of using special effects like sound. He's kind of like enhanced vision. Here's him kind of playing with he's an inventor, so now he's kind of playing with this little Rubik's cube. So really, like, there's an infinite amount of neat kind of things you can do. So spiders likewise configured. I'm gonna go and hit one on him. He's doing some shots. This is me hitting the one button. He's doing all these different things because it's on a sequence of an ore. Here's him firing webs. Again, unfortunately, going towards 000. Let's try that again. There we go, but hopefully we'll be able to fix that so that it fires towards targets. I've configured him doing, this is him doing sort of a dodge, sort of different things, kind of pretty cool. Different attacks. I've got a spider sense configured here. Here, let me see, I think it's this one. There you go. You can see him kind of looking around with his, classic spider tingling. So anyway, just by playing with those files, you can create some pretty complex animations. And I recommend if you want to install Hero Combat Simulator and Titan Icon, you kind of go through these steps just to make sure that these two characters are working as configured. So the next video, what I'm going to do is show you how to make it easier to configure characters through basically an access-based application. It doesn't require that you have access on your system, but you will need to install the runtime and get that going. So let me defer that for a later video, and hope you enjoy what you've seen so far.